Something was knocking on the spacecraft 200,000 miles from Earth. Inside a capsule no bigger than a small RV, the 4 astronauts of Artemis II heard a sound that did not belong. Not a fan. Not a valve. Not life support. It came from outside the wall, from a place where sound shouldn't exist. For 10 days in April 2026. NASA sent for astronauts farther from Earth than any humans had traveled in more than 50 years. Their Orion capsule, Integrity, carried Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. They flew about 47,000 kilometers from home, beyond the distance reached during Apollo 13. Most coverage focused on the lunar flyby, the safe return. But what stayed with them was a sound. Space is silent. No air means no sound waves. An explosion outside would make no noise. A spacecraft is different. It is a pressurized metal shell. And metal moves. It expands, contracts, flexes. When something touches it, heavens something. Microscopic, the vibration travels through the cabin. Inside Orion, 4 people shared the space of a large minivan. Seats, suits, food, equipment, walls only centimeters thick in places. Outside, radiation, extreme temperatures, and fast-moving dust between Earth and the Moon. The crew knew every normal sound. They had trained for years, so when something unfamiliar echoed through the hull, instinct reacted first. They weren't the first to experience this. In 2003, China's first astronaut Yang Liwei heard a slow, hollow knocking aboard Shenzhou 5. He searched the cabin, checked panels, looked outside, found nothing. Later, crews were warned it might happen. No clear cause was ever confirmed in 1969. During Apollo 10's flight behind the moon, astronauts heard a strange whistling in their radios. They called it outer space music. Engineers later pointed to radio interference as the likely explanation. But at the time, they only had the sound. On the International Space Station, crews have reported taps and pops for years. Many were traced to thermal stress as the structure cycled between sunlight and shadow. Some came from communication systems. Most were explained, not all with certainty. So what did Artemis II hear? The most likely answer is thermal flexing. As Integrity rotated to manage heat, its structure expanded and contracted. That movement is not smooth. Stress releases in small, sudden shifts. Each shift sends a vibration through the hull. Inside, it becomes a pop, a creak. A knock. Engineers expect it, but the human brain interprets. Sudden knocks as something trying to get in. Another possibility. Micrometeoroid impacts. The space between Earth and the Moon contains dust and tiny fragments moving at extreme speeds. Even very small particles can strike the hull and send a shock wave through the structure to the crew. That might sound like a sharp tap, or feel like a subtle jolt. Orion is built to handle small impacts. Over 10 days, minor strikes are statistically likely. The question isn't whether something hits the ship, it's whether the hit matters. There is also the spacecraft itself, behind the crew module. Pumps, valves, and reaction wheels cycle automatically. A valve opening, a wheel spinning up, a latch adjusting under temperature change. Vibrations travel through the structure and can seem to come from outside. Most mysteries in spaceflight are normal systems working as designed, and yet, not every sound can be matched to one exact cause. Yang Liwei's knocking remains unresolved. Apollo 10's whistling has a strong explanation, not absolute proof. ISS reports often list multiple possibilities. Mission control can offer probabilities, not always certainty. Over time, astronauts adapt. The first unfamiliar sound makes them freeze. Later, it blends into the background. By the end of a mission, the creaks and taps feel routine, but one thought remains. What was that? Thermal stress? A particle striking the hull? A system cycling behind the wall? Or something unnamed? Most astronauts learn to live with not knowing. Artemis II lasted 10 days. A Mars mission would last years. Months traveling out, months coming back, every unexplained sound repeating in the dark, Space agencies study this carefully. In confined environments, unexplained noises affect sleep. Fatigue rises. Small tensions grow. Crews who talk openly cope better than those who stay silent. That is why these reports matter. They are not dramatic mysteries. They are data. Each logged knock, each vibration report, each quiet comment adds to our understanding of what it means to live inside. A sealed vessel surrounded by vacuum. Fewer than 700 people have ever been to space. Only a few dozen traveled to the moon. With Artemis II, space missions have begun again. Integrity is back on Earth. Engineers are inspecting its hull. Every small mark is measured. Every in-flight note compared with telemetry. Somewhere in those logs is a moment when one astronaut turned and said, "Did you hear that?" And the answer was yes. We may never know exactly what they heard. Not because it was extraordinary, but because it was normal in an extraordinary place. The difference between a routine spacecraft sound and the most unsettling noise of your life isn't defined by physics, it's defined by the human nervous system. 4. Astronauts traveled farther than anyone in decades. They returned with data, images, and stories, and with the memory of a sound that, sometime between Flight Day 3 and Flight Day 10, made them stop and listen, not to mission control, not to each other, but to the wall, because something on the other side spoke first, that more than any image of Earth, shrinking behind them is what deep space feels like. Not silent, just quiet enough that when your ship speaks you hear it.